Thank you very much, and thank you for hosting me, and all of you who are gathered here. You are busy leaders of your people, and your willingness to come back together 1 week after having just been together is a great privilege for me. And to the Prime Minister of Fiji, sir, for your personal hospitality to me and my wife and the people who have come with me, I'm deeply grateful. I don't want to make too many remarks. I want to listen to you because I'm here to learn. But I want to tell you just 3 or 4 priorities that are in my mind that I think match well with what you are speaking of. And together, if we can put those together, we will be able to make 2 and 2 equal to 7. The first one is, I am determined that the World Bank will become faster. Speed and efficiency is like a big priority for me. I have examples where things have changed. I have examples where things have not changed enough. But in the year or so that I've been here, I have tried to go from 19 months, which was the average, to get a project from discussion to approval by the board. I want to bring that down to 12 months. We are currently at 16, but this correspondent bank project was 12 months. The project we are going through right now to take a $2.5 billion approval for the entire East Asia, ASEAN and Pacific Islands area for renewable energy, of which about 260 billion will come here, is 12 months. So we are beginning to head in the right direction. 19 is too long, 12 would be nice, even lower would be excellent, but let me get to 12 first. That's one priority. That requires both us to change and you to change. If we do small projects, and many of them, it takes longer. If we do larger projects and focus, it's much quicker because the resource demand for smaller projects to be planned is the same whether you do a $200 million project or a $500 million project. We have serious issues in your 7 lists. We can pick priorities and challenge those at a large scale. And that will help both me and you. So that's one kind of topic. The second big topic, you've heard me redefine the vision of the bank to include the idea of livable planet, which means climate, healthcare, the things that you have spoken to very eloquently in your opening statements. My belief on this is that it is focused at women and young people. Women, because they are half the population of our world, and even today, even in the developed world, they don't get a fair opportunity. But it's not just about a fair opportunity, it is about the economic power that they will unlock if they have a fair opportunity. So I'm focused on changing what happens with women in all countries. I'm focused on young people because, as you know, the numbers are that in the emerging markets, including in your countries, 1.2 billion young people will become eligible for a job in the coming 12 years. And we talk of that as the sort of demographic dividend of the emerging world. It is a dividend if these young people get clean air, clean water, health care and education when they're growing up, and a job when they're adults. Because with a job comes income, but more importantly than income comes dignity. And dignity is the hope of the future. So I am determined to focus on jobs for young people. Because today, the same emerging market countries are on a forecast to generate only 400 million jobs for these 1.2 billion young people. Now, I don't care if 400 right and the right number is 500. The problem is it's not 1.2 billion. But forecasts are not destiny. We can change it if we take action on jobs. So that's the second thing I'm very focused on. The third thing I'm focused on is the humility of knowing that there is not enough money in either governments or multilateral banks to be able to solve the size and scale of these problems. And so we need to involve the private sector in wherever it is possible to do so in a logical way. And so a lot of my energy is going into involving the private sector as well in certain spaces. And so those are kind of the 3 important things. I'm keen to improve the speed and efficiency, both from our side and to help you with capacity and from your side. I'm keen to focus on women and young people as a part of the livable planet idea, and I'm keen to ensure that the private sector also comes to help us. We have to do our job, but they can be the add-on to what we are doing. You should rely on us to be a good partner. I recognize it's the first time in 50 years that a World Bank president has come here. I was talking to your chairperson that hopefully before another year or two, I will be back again to attend one of your forum meetings as well. That should change the tone of the interaction between global institutions and a very important part of the world called the Pacific Islands. And that is part of my commitment to you. But beyond that, the fact that we got these climate resilient debt clauses out there and signed by a number of you, Prime Minister Mia Mottley, who has become a friend of Barbados, said to me she spent 3 years trying to convince the world to get these done. I got it done in 90 days after joining. It can be done. I understand the challenge you face. When you have a climate catastrophe, you should not be worrying about paying back my loan or my interest. At that time, for 2 years, you should have a chance to look after your people. The time to pay back the loan will come after that, but you must get the breathing room to look after your people. In the same idea, the idea of a drawdown of uncommitted resources was the same idea. The idea of category DDOs is aligned to the same thought. So we can take action and we can make it happen. Whether it's this correspondent banking review, which I believe is very important, and I would encourage you to think of it in 2 phases. The first phase being making sure we can continue to provide correspondent banking by subsidizing the cost of doing so, but we have to get past the subsidy to a business rationale for it, and that will only happen with scale. Together you have scale, separately it will be a problem. Therefore, thinking through how to do this in a way that is respectful of your sovereignty, but careful as a partner group, is quite important. And I'm willing to help. I have personal knowledge in this space because of my years as a banker and as the CEO of MasterCard and running the largest fast payment systems in the world. I kind of get it. I'm happy to help. But to clap, you need 2 hands. And the other hand has to be yours. So I think we can start, but we've got to make progress on that. And then I think the last part is back to IDA 21. And one more thing, the Pacific Resilience Facility I want to speak to. But let me talk about IDA 21 for a minute. Your 2050 strategy for the Blue Pacific is a very important document to connect to what IDA 21 is aiming for. IDA 21 at the end of the day has, aside from the fact that it has proven results, which a number of you can testify to, but there are other data on that, 36 countries have graduated from IDA over the years. And just to be clear, South Korea was an IDA country. Turkey was an IDA country. India was an IDA country. China was an IDA country. To be completely clear, Japan used to be an IDA country. So it's a non-way of thinking that says that IDA countries are poorer countries and they are locked into a cycle of poverty. They are not. They need the ability to get out of that cycle of poverty. IDA is key. It's not the only instrument for China, India, Japan, Turkey, Brazil, and others. It is one of the instruments, but it is a key instrument. We need to fight that case hard and prosecute it hard over the coming couple of months. The IDA Summit for Commitments is in the first week of December in Seoul. Between now and then, your voice will come. The big countries that contribute money to IDA are the ones you know, the United States, Japan, China, the UK, Germany, France, Australia. These are countries whom you all have relationships with. Your voice will come, as does mine, as do other people's. So I'm asking for your help in putting your voice to work in these coming 8 weeks to ensure that we get the right replenishment of IDA. The second part is, I believe that every country that is contributing also has money they use for bilateral aid to countries, and that is appropriate. Countries have their own national security, and diplomatic reasons for doing so. But what I tell all of them is that $1 of bilateral aid is $1. $1 given to the World Bank is $4 for IDA. Because we use our AAA rating to raise money in the bond market and make $1 equal to 4. In the case of IBRD, $1 is equal to 8 or 10. But right now we're discussing IDA. $1 is equal to 4. That's a good argument. I'm not saying bring a bilateral down to 0. I'm saying in your allocation of bilateral aid, of overseas development aid, think of some portion going to the institution that can multiply that money and then use our knowledge to make a difference. That's the IDA situation. The part about the Pacific Resilience Facility, I want to help you in every which way that you need, whether it is technical services to get going, but more importantly, co-investing once it has got going. Because I think scale will be important again. And while the Pacific Resilience Facility will be able to provide some concessional money of some amount, along with IDA and IBRD, we can take that money and multiply it many more times. I would like to have a process by which when the PRF is looking at a project, we start looking at that project at the same time. By the time the PRF gets its approval, we should be ready to go with approval. So the project has a bigger chance of success. And to me, that would be a good model of partnership as well going forward. So, you know, I'm keen to be here because I want to listen to what else you want me to do, but I wanted you to know where I'm trying to steer the institution in terms of speed, the focus on women and young people, and the idea of scale and the private sector as well. And then see if we can find ways for me to be more helpful. Because my job here, as I said to the Deputy Prime Minister of Fiji a little while ago, the World Bank is in your countries because you want us to be there. It is not our right to be there. We are there because we serve you. So tell me what I can do to be more helpful. Thank you very much.